pretty damn impressive. Number two, Russell Wilson has not. Okay, not bad or anything like that, but has not. Number three, Jameis Winston ain't playing to get ahead of Jackson Dart. That ain't gonna happen. They ain't gonna play Jameis Winston to get ahead of Jackson Dart. They're just not. Number four, Brian Daboll's job is on the line. Fair or unfair, I think the man's a hell of a coach, me personally. Even though Shane, that's what I call the GM, because he should be ashamed of himself how he treated Saquon Barkley. The bottom line is that's why I call him Shane. That's exactly what I call him. But I'm not going to deny that he hasn't done a good. I'm not going to deny that he's done a good job in the draft. Yeah. So we get that. But Brian, people have looked at them and they've said, you know what? There's some trepidation there about their job security, both of them. And in the case of Daboll, more so. I don't think that's fair. I think the man has proven he can coach. I think he can coach his tail off. And I think he just knows that he needs a quarterback out there, and he doesn't have time to wait. He's not a two-time coach of the year like Kevin Stefanski. He's not a guy, he doesn't have a guy on Russell Wilson that is Joe Flacco that just took the Cleveland Browns to the playoffs a couple of years ago when Deshaun Watson went down, and he got off the couch and took them to the damn postseason. I'm not saying that Shedeur Sanders is not going to be in there. Don't get me wrong. I'm simply saying that I think we're going to see Jackson Dart sooner than later before we see Shedeur Sanders barring injury. That's what I believe.
Agree with Dart because it's going to take some time to get him out there because they're going to season him, but then they want to turn the keys over to him. First round pick. A lot's invested in him. They want to get this thing going. And to be honest, it's kind of like with children. You want them out there. You want them exploring. You want them trying things. You want to learn and go through trial and error, toughen up the skin, fortify, and get through it. Like the Giants aren't going anywhere anyway this season. So get him out there at some point. Let him build up. The Sanders thing is fascinating because with Cleveland, you talked about how their goal is to figure out what they have in those two QBs.
No doubt.
I think that's part of the goal. I also look at next year's quarterback class with Nussmeier, with Cade Klubnik, potentially with Arch Manning. I look at Cleveland with 2 first-round picks, and I look at the 2 young QBs on the Cleveland roster, neither of which is a first-round pick. And I think to myself, maybe we're trying something with these guys, but is the goal to lose as many games as possible so we get into a position for one of these quarterbacks? I don't trust what's going on with Cleveland. That's why I don't go with Shedeur. Even if he plays really well, I still don't trust the situation.
So here's what's
I don't trust what's going on with Cleveland. I mean, that's an evergreen statement based on what we've seen the last quarter century.
Well, here's what's going on with Cleveland.
Longer.
Steven mentioned Flacco. Steven mentioned Flacco took them to the playoffs a couple years ago. They did not re-sign Flacco. They had Jameis Winston there. They bring back Flacco. They also have a Kenny Pickett, who they signed earlier in free agency. Kevin Stefanski likes veterans. Kevin Stefanski likes guys who will run exactly what he's asking you to run. It is about timing, it's about rhythm, it's about accuracy, it's do the job. I agree with you that their position right now should be, hey, we got these 2 young kids. Let's see. Stefanski and their GM, Andrew Berry, signed extensions. They should not be on the hot seat. So you can say, well, let's just see what we have before we turn to the draft. But it is shaping up based off of how they've divvied up the reps in training camp. The fact that Shedeur started, then got hurt, and he's going to be behind Dillon Gabriel and Flacco. I think he's still going to be 4th. So when you talk about who's going to get to start more games, it would not shock me if Dillon Gabriel, if you took Kenny Pickett out the picture, it wouldn't shock me if Dillon Gabriel was the backup before Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't know that Kenny Pickett is going to start the season on the active roster because we haven't seen him in the preseason.
That's right.
He's not going to play on Saturday against the LA Rams, so there's that. I do think the number 2 quarterback job is up for grabs. Who the backup quarterback is to start the regular season feels like that's an open competition, and that's going to play itself out. Joe Flacco's going to start the 3rd preseason game, which is a little bit different. But then it's going to be Dillon Gabriel, then Shedeur Sanders. We'll see what ends up happening. But if what we saw against the Carolina Panthers was a prelude to what Shedeur Sanders is going to look like on Saturday, I will tell you this. He will make a compelling argument to be the guy first off the bench when Joe Flacco ultimately gets the hook. And make no mistake about it, as much as Kevin Stefanski may like veteran players, we know what Joe Flacco is. We know what he ain't. I guarantee that Joe Flacco ain't going to start 17 regular season games this year.
Well, we know that.
The Cleveland Browns are going to give these young quarterbacks an opportunity, a chance to play this season.
Hold up. Is Russell Wilson going to start 17 games this year?
No, of course
Right there. Of course not. Exactly. That's my point.
But Kmart was making the case that Kevin Stefanski, because he loves veteran quarterbacks, is going to play Joe
start
Flacco.
No 17 games, but we know that Russell Wilson
Joe Flacco ain't going to make it through the first 6 games. You see their schedule?
Okay.
It ain't going to happen.
Right, well,
they got the Cincinnati Bengals and 5 playoff teams to go.
Russell Wilson ain't going to start 17 games, and Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston combined ain't going to start 17 games.
I will say this. The Russell Wilson has a chance to be more competitive with that defense that the New York Giants are bringing to the party than the Cleveland Browns do through the first third of the season. They just do. The Giants' defense is underrated in terms of how good they're going to be.
That's true.
And they are going to be in a lot of closely contested ball games. And what the product looks like on the field is going to dictate when Brian Daboll decides he's going to yank Russell Wilson out of the starting lineup. Conversely, the Cleveland Browns' defense is supposed to be their strength. JOK is not going to be there the entire season. MJ Emerson got hurt in training camp. He's going to be out for a while. That defense is not as solid as we thought it would be coming into this season. And they don't have a glut of playmakers on the offensive side of the ball either. So there are a hell of a lot of questions in Cleveland. And even Joe Flacco being a veteran is not going to lead to a winning product, which opens the door for Shedeur Sanders to play sooner rather than later.
I just can't get past.
I have to get past what you're about to say.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.